In today's show, we discuss, should we get rid of the Department of Education?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasula, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tyre Bowyer. Tyre, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you keep it safe and well.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you going to do it? Are you
What?
going to do it?
Oh, yeah. If you give me a flipping chance, man, I might be able to get a word in edgewise. Crikey. Hello, audience. I finally got to say it. No. Anyway, I want to say something. Audience, please do subscribe, and I'll tell you why you should consider subscribing.
To our show?
To our show.
Okay.
According to scientists at the Research Foundation for Anti-Snakebite Flip-Flops, subscribing to the TNT Talk Show significantly reduces the risk of being bitten by a poisonous snake. In Alaska, in winter, while wearing flip-flops. Now, we've received emails poo-pooing some of our recent statistics regarding the benefits of subscribing. But I think we can all agree that this time, there's very little doubt that the science is based on solid evidence. So thank you, and please subscribe. Why? Why are you laughing? You're making...
Your justifications for our wonderful audience to subscribe to our show is very weak.
Very weak. Well, I anticipated your objection.
Okay.
And I do want you to answer this honestly.
Okay.
In all honesty, have you heard of anyone being bitten by a poisonous snake in Alaska in winter when they were wearing a flip-flop? Yes or no?
No.
There we go. All our subscribers, none of our subscribers have anything to worry about. And what's I've got...
I'm going to ask our listeners out there, if you happen to be listening to our show from Alaska, please write in, say hello, comment, let us know, and we'll ring your name out on the show in a future episode.
Absolutely.
So yes, please. And that goes for a lot of people, actually. If you get in touch with us and you want your name read out, then please let us know, give us your details, and we'll reveal it on the show. Now, obviously, if you don't want your details read out, then obviously we won't, but still get in touch and let us know what you think of the show. Like Tayo has said, genuinely like, comment, and subscribe to our show. We do love all the subscriptions that we do receive, so keep those coming in, please.
That was quite a wild invitation. We're likely to be swamped. So our 300th show, which is coming up in a couple of episodes from now, will just be 1 hour of us reading out names of people.
Well, that might be so bad.
Well, we hope. Well,
We'll see.
or would
We'll
it?
see.
That's the thing.
I don't know. Right, anyway,
Have
let's
you
move
heard
on.
question
Go on.
time?
Oh, yes.
Question time with
Go
Tayo.
on.
Have you heard of the UG circle?
A usually what?
The UG circle. YUXI. It's Chinese.
YUXI.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with
UG.
Ouija boards, is it? Or anything
No.
like that?
A few years ago, cartographers, people who make maps, wondered where on a world map the smallest circle would encompass at least half the Earth's population.
Ooh.
So they were looking for the smallest circle that would encompass at least half the Earth's population. The answer is in southwestern China. And the center of the circle is the town of Yuji, a city in Yunnan province. The Yuji circle, which is centered on Yuji, as I've said, has a radius of about 4,000 kilometers. So
And it has half the world's population.
So in a circle of diameter 8,000 kilometers, yeah, you got half the world's population in there. It's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. That's incredible.
Yep.
I'd like to see where that is actually on a map. I'll have to look it up. I've never heard of
Yunnan.
it. But the point is, why would somebody spend energy doing that? That's an interesting. It's almost a project for someone to do because they're bored. Let's be honest. What value does that give us?
So, say you're a manufacturer and you want to sell to the largest number of people with the smallest footprint, geographical footprint.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Stuff
would
like
make
that.
sense. Yeah. Okay, interesting. It's Yugi. Okay, well,
Yugi,
okay,
Yuxi.
Okay, if you want to, can you summarise that? Have you got any data that we can share with our audience with the bird?
Okay, it's probably in Wikipedia, so I'll
Okay,
send you a
if
link.
You find it, send me the link, and we'll share that with our audience. That'd be some bit of trivia for them to look at as well. Right, let's move on with the topic of today, and this is one of yours, and this is an interesting one. It's should we get rid of the Department of Education? Now, you obviously are in the education field, so this probably is something close to your heart. But why then do we need to get rid of the Department of Education? And do you mean solely in the UK or solely in the US or both or all? I don't know.
The reason why I want to get rid of the Department of Education is because I've had a series of run-ins with people working for the Department of Education, and I'm not really concerned about the Department of Education for the UK, but specifically for Northamptonshire, and not just Northamptonshire, but for specifically for those clowns with whom I've been dealing. So
I don't think we should go that deep.
Where's Northampton?
Keep it general.
Where's Northamptonshire? And I think I know the office. I won't go rid of.
No. Just let's keep it generic.
Teachers don't deal typically with the department for education, which is what it's called here. Not Department of Education, the Department for Education.
For Education.
DFE.
Okay.
And we don't typically deal with the Department for Education. We deal with councils. So I'm just kidding. Nothing to do with that. No, the reason is this. You see, something's...
Oh, that's my computer bleeping away in the background, so something appeared.
I wasn't aware of this, but I've been very suspicious that the reason why our educational standards are falling is due to too much government in education. And increasingly, a number of parents have decided to go homeschooling. And homeschooling is actually a growth industry right now. It's growing at a phenomenal... Sorry?
I'd heard that too, yeah.
Yes, it's growing at a phenomenal rate because people just don't trust schools anymore. You send your kid off to school and they come back indoctrinated and stupid and just like, what's going on? Now, I wasn't aware that in the early stages of the American... Republic. In the early stages of the American Republic, there wasn't a Department of Education, and there was fierce resistance to getting one.
Really?
Because, Americans want to do things their own way. They are more for the individual, and the smaller the government, the better. This is what many of them think. And I was wondering how would that actually work? I mean, who sets the standards and so on and so forth? And the whole idea is stop waiting for someone else to come and tell you how to set standards and this and that, and you and your community decide what standards you want for yourselves. And because you're in a commonality where everyone's going to have to compete for jobs and for recognition, and if you like nowadays, university places on the open system, if you and your community don't want to get it right because you don't want to compete, you will fail. The market will punish you. So market forces will actually make you aim to be exceptionally good. And they're your kids, by the way, and no one has your kids, hopefully, no one has your kids' best interests at heart better than you do. And I thought, there's a lot to be said for this. But what are the pros and cons?
Yeah, can I just jump in very quickly? But aren't you scrubbing something and going back to the low-level entity? You're pushing the education system years back, because how do you know if you don't have a Department of Education? How do you know what you could and should be teaching the children?
It's the curriculum.
But where's that come from?
Well, so what happens that AI and I had a torrid session, and it put me through the ringer, and was testing my ideas and was actually getting on my tits a bit, if you don't mind my saying so. But yeah, it wrenched it from me. That what are these ideas? What it devolves to, or what it becomes, is for me, the universities are the top echelon of education in any system. So there should be the academic universities and the polytechnics and the technical colleges and so on and so forth. Right at the top there, they set the agenda, the educational agenda, because they are the forefront of learning. So why don't we let them set the curricula? Let them set the curricula. Let them set the curricula for exam boards. So if you're homeschooling, you've got to be targeting one exam board or the other. Even now is what when I walk into a parent's home, because I teach parents kids at home, I say, well, which exam board are you targeting? And then they tell me, and then we work it out to that curriculum. So just because you don't have a department for education doesn't mean you won't be working towards a curriculum, and that curriculum being set by the best minds in the country will not have the political taint that comes in when you have politicians messing around with education. Because this is my main beef.
Well, the
when
beef
the Tories,
I get it. But what's the beef that you've got with regard to politicians setting the agenda?
because it's politics. And so they've had this horrible thing since feminism really took off. We've had this horrible thing where, now I'm not trying to bash women, but I don't know how to say it otherwise. We've had this female-led mindset that, oh, everyone's got to get a participation prize. Everyone's got to get a prize. No one can lose. That's the very anti-male kind of logic. Because in male logic, we understand hierarchies. There's always going to be someone who's better, and there's always going to be someone who's last. It's just the way things are. And if you're going to level everyone, you're bringing down the good ones. You're bringing them down, and then you're unnecessarily stressing your not so good ones and pushing them up. But the overall effect is that everyone will be going down. And over a period of time, what have we seen? Exactly this happening now in schools. It's exactly what was predicted.
Education per se, though.
Sorry?
That's not education itself, though. That's just being in the environment, and this is being created. So that's not education itself. You see what I mean? It's not. You're not learning.
I don't see what you mean.
Right. When I'm talking about education and setting the agenda or the curriculum, the curriculum should be set, in actual fact, should come from what's required in the workplace. And the workplace have a requirement for certain types of people to fulfill the workplace. So they should go to the education department and say, well, we need people to fulfill these particular roles. So should higher education in particular be filtered so that the education that's being taught would then mean that these students who've got that education can then segue directly into industry and fulfill a purpose in the workplace. So they can get a career, the workplace benefit because they've got productive students when they come out of the education system, and the industry that they're going in can thrive because they've got students that can fulfill the roles that they're looking for. So really it shouldn't come from the universities, because yes, you want to teach children and students how to think, absolutely, but you've also then got to equip them with the skills necessary so they can find work, start a family, add to society, earn money, etc., etc. So that goes hand in hand. So really, the politicians, if they're involved, they shouldn't be. They should be setting the agenda in terms of what's taught. How it's taught is a different kettle of fish. That's left to the teaching people. They should be looking at that in a different way. But the actual curriculum itself, what you're being taught, is one thing, but how you're taught is done by the teachers. And that's probably who you've got the gripe with, as opposed to the Department of Education, surely.
No. You used the word there several times. By the time I realized you were using it several times, it was too late to start counting them. You used the word should far too many times. What should happen is the one thing. What is actually happening is what I'm addressing. Right. So, yes, you were right. It should be like that, but it isn't like that. Because the politicians come in and they want to make their mark, so to speak. They want to leave their legacy or whatever they want to call it. And then they interfere. So they've gone way past what you were saying, which is almost like policy setting, which is, if it works that way, I think it's probably the way the Chinese system works. The people in industry in China says to the CPC, central government, look, this is what we need, and we're going to need X number in X number of years, because they don't do reactive to the present situation. They plan ahead, which is what everybody else should be doing. And they say, we're going to need this. And then the CBC's education, whatever it is, bureau, I think they call them, says, okay, well, in that case, we need blah, 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 and blah, 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 and this is what we need to do. Then they work hand in hand with the academicians, and they sort out the curriculum. That's what happens there. And I'm asking for something similar here, but if we have political parties. If we have political party input, we differ significantly from the Chinese model, and that's the problem. In the Chinese model, they're going to have the same system, the same direction is going to be set. I think they've got 5-year plans, and the 5-year plan is an integral part of 5-year plans, which means they're planning for 25 years. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in the 25-year...
Stage 1 5-year plan, stage 2 5-year plan, stage 3.
But it's for the overarching 25-year plan.
Yeah.
But here, what we've got is 5-year plan with the Tories. Bam! The Labour people come in and 180-degree turn or whatever. So we don't. Where's the consistency? Where's the forward planning? So let's take it away from the politicians. It's not when you think about it, it's not the Department for Education per se that I'm really against. I don't really have a beef with them, but I have a beef with the fact that because there's a Department of Education for education, they are necessarily controlled by central government. And if they are not controlled by central government, we have an even worse situation where we get a quango, a quasi. What's the proper expression for quango?
Yeah, quango's right.
Yeah, I know, but what does it stand for? Quango, quasi body, and those fester and become corrupt and become insular fiefdoms that do their own thing. And you wake up one day and they're not even, they just lost the plot. So I'm dead set against quangos, which is why I don't want the Department for Education in any shape or form. It's like let's get rid of them, and let us form a system that is actually trying to deliver education. Right now, politicians are trying to deliver outcomes, but political outcomes.
Well,
right?
Explain that. In what way?
Well, they might get one in that says we want more ethnic representation, for example. You want more ethnic representation. What's that got to do with education? If you want more ethnic representation, then you've got to work with ethnic people and maybe give them extra schooling or something, whatever it is, so that they can meet the educational standards. You don't try to work things out and we've got to teach in certain languages so that other people. It's like, what are you talking about? No, that's what I'm saying. And let us anyway. So I've laid my case. My case being, think about it. If you got a bunch of so look there, you've got technical colleges. You've got vocational colleges, and you've got university colleges. Right now, we're pushing out like 50% students into university. That's ridiculous. So they're coming out with things like gender studies and stuff like that. What? This is why so much.
That's to do, yeah.
Why is so much rubbish coming out of university?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
But why is so much nonsense coming out of universities? So what we need is, listen, you can't all go to blooming uni, okay? Frankly, because the top of the best of the best, who are suited for education, for studies, they go to uni. I wasn't particularly suited, so I wouldn't make it in my own system. So what do you call that? Not due diligence. What's it called when you just tell the truth as, look, it wouldn't even work for me. All right, there's a term for it. I can't remember. I wasn't suited for uni. My parents pushed me to uni. I shouldn't have gone to a technical. Actually, I should just have gone to work my bottom up for a while, made some money, and then thought to myself, this is what I want to do. I probably have gone off and done something like film school or something. It's something completely different. But in Nigeria, are you going to be a doctor or an engineer?
Yeah, but then I can see that because that's adding value to society in a way, because that's one of the STEM. You could put it as one of the STEM schooling requirements. For those that may be listening in and wondering, what's he on about? What's STEM? What's STEM? Do you want to explain what these acronyms STEM?
I wish I could remember. You probably got me now. It's
Okay.
science, technology, engineering, and maths.
Maths, yeah. So those ones are STEM academic subjects. So if you're in those, there's always a requirement in society that if you've got qualifications on those, you won't go wrong in finding work, and even high paid work, if you've studied those subjects. But I thought what we were talking about and what your gripe was, Ty, it wasn't necessarily what you've listed out. I thought your gripe was that the Department of Education was almost dumbing down students, because you shared an interesting piece of information with me offline. We'll share it with our listeners and watchers about the first time, was it Gen Z? They're dumber than their previous generation.
Okay,
Share that with me.
Yeah. Hold on. Okay, so that's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it is. Okay, so I've forgotten the man's name. There was one weird name. There's a researcher into education and that sort of allied thing, and he gave
Jared Cooney Harvath.
and hey, Cooney. Okay, so anyway, I don't know, maybe Maine or somewhere. It reminds me of a name that neuroscientist.
And he testified before the U.S. Senate.
There we are. But his name reminds me of a character in a Stephen King novel. This one's like, really? He's the one with the coffin in the basement. Anyway, let's move on. So, remarkable what he found. He says that Gen Z are, and I think, I'm not sure if he used the word stupidest, but that's definitely what I remember.
Less cognitively capable.
There we go. The least cognitively capable generation ever. So for those of you who are wondering, this is the TNT talk show, and if Tayo's talking, you're going to get it straight, right? Tony will lather it up in nice words, but when it comes to Tayo, you know what to expect. So hang on to your seats, guys. I'm going to explain what he was saying. He was saying that Gen Z are a bunch of idiots. Okay, that's what he was saying. That of all the generations, this is the most idiotic. And how would anyone doubt it? I mean, well, I've got family that I can't actually talk about, so unfortunately, but let me just say I've seen it up close and personal, and it's like it's not my fault. I did everything. Okay. But
it's crazy. I mean, some of the things that Dr. Jared Cooney Horvath actually discovered, this is from testing, etc., that part of the reasoning that Gen Z appears to be less capable than previous generations, first time ever, by the way, that's never happened before, because there's a test, there's a Fleming test, a Flynn test or something, I'll find the name actually, and that tends to show over generations there's a 3% increase across generations. So as a generation comes along, a 3% increase in brain ability and capacity and etc. But this is the first time ever where it's actually dropped significantly lower. So they're less cognitively capable, his terms, than the parents. And in fact, before of 2 generations prior. So it's gone down quite a bit, which is quite a drop. And part of the problem that he's discovered as part of his testimony was that the attention span has absolutely plummeted from the Gen Z basically their attention span is gone. It's got so fragmented that they are so used to consuming short form material that everything has to be short form. Otherwise they lose interest. Their attention is gone.
I don't think they lose interest. I think they lose their place. They can't follow you. This is what I see in schools. They just lose their place. They kind of spaz out. You see their eyes sort of glaze over. They're looking at you and they're like, yeah. And then you're talking and then they just kind of glaze out. And then they come back and then they're like, so what were you saying? That kind of thing. It's like, well,
attention span's gone, isn't it?
well, that's what I mean. They're not there. So actually, I'll tell you one thing. But I want to, before I go back to what this Dr. Horvath, whatever his name was saying.
Yeah.
It's like I was shocked that he said it started with Gen Z. Because I'm pretty certain it started with your mob, the millennials.
No. I want a millennial.
Oh, you're not?
No.
You're Gen X.
I'm Gen X.
Oh, you're Gen X. I have a suspicion that his maths is off. Because these millennials, man, they're a bunch of idiots too. So it's just like true. So anyway, if Gen Z is actually the worst one so far, cognitively speaking, we're not really going to worry unless their kids are too.
Yeah.
Because that'd be 2 generations down. Mm-hmm. But he said something very interesting, which is taking us a bit away from Department for Education discussion. He puts it down to the introduction of electronics into teaching, into the classroom, which I found fascinating because I'd have thought it was the opposite way. It would have gone the other way. That because you have your laptop open and you're able to access all this information, you have all this data coming in at once, and I'd have thought your brain would expand to absorb it all. No. Not that you'd somehow lose your place. I mean, I don't see. It's a very strange.
What he was implying that the Gen Z education, the kids from Gen Z who are growing up as adults now, they are very good at finding information, but not retaining it. So they're almost, I mean, his words were changed slightly when the media, because the media have reported on this as well. They've come up with a term. They've said that the kids are great at finding answers. They can find it and search it, but they're not knowing the answers. So they find it, can regurgitate it, but then it's gone, fleeting. They're not retaining it. It's not sticking, because they're now moving on to something else. And it's this skimming mentality has caused them not to absorb what they've looked up, because they're going on to the next thing. And it's not giving the brain the time for it to settle and then get stored, because your short-term memory has only got like a 15-minute
That makes a lot of sense, Tony. That makes a lot of sense, because just today, you and I read about, well, independently, I don't know who sent who what, about 3 U.S. aircraft being shot out of the skies over Kuwait.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yes, correct.
Now, if you think, and then apparently it was friendly fire from the Kuwaiti forces.
Yeah, blue on blue.
So, if that's true, and, you know, it might not be true, it might be the Iranians who shot those planes out of the sky, but let's assume it's true, it makes sense because the personnel manning those anti-aircraft systems were probably Gen Z. So they'd have been like, what's that again? It's an American aircraft. Is it what? It's a what? Sorry, it's an Iranian aircraft. Boom! No. I said Americans. The Americans. Ooh, where are they? No, wait, no. We're on their side. We're on their side. So these Iranian planes, shaboom! There's 3 of them. It's gone, man. It's like, all right. Let's bring the millennials in now. Let's go have a coffee or something.
Oh, dear. There is an element of this is interesting, actually, very, very interesting, to do with the cognitive part of our brain. Like I said, there's 15 minutes that we have short-term memory, and then slowly that memory will then move into long-term storage. But what happens is if you're bombarded with a lot of stuff
I
in
can't
those 15
move.
minutes, it doesn't get stored because it gets replaced with something else. So this skimming causes a huge quantity of stuff that comes at you. So your brain is more selective of what it's trying to remember, and it gets a bit overwhelmed. So instead of storing away the things it learned within that 15-minute window, because it's picked up other stuff along the way because of this skimming mentality that they've got used to, they never deeply root the information that they may have picked up because they've been distracted. The attention span's gone. It's gone onto something else, and that previous stuff is just gone.
Well,
And
do you know
so-
something? Do you know something? When you think about it, why would you want to retain information? It's always available. And if you know
That's
how
a
to
good
find
thing.
it,
Yes,
if you know how to find it, I don't need to retain it. What I need to retain it for? Where did I find it? Sometimes I know I've asked AI to tell me something I asked it say, a week ago. But I can't even be bothered to just scroll down the conversations to find it. It's like, why should I bother? I just ask the question again. Boom, there comes the answer again. Oh yeah, now I remember. So why would you? Seriously, why would you remember?
Well, we have a problem there because what that means is you're now molding a generation to be terminals.
Terminals, what does that mean?
What that means is we now are plugged into the internet. We humans. Without the internet, we are useless. So we've now effectively taught our kids and us as well. I mean, we're affected to it to a degree. Where I mean, you've just said it. What's the point of learning this? You can access it immediately. So as long as you're a terminal, like a terminal on the internet, you can access that stuff. Yeah, I don't need to remember it. Yeah, but as soon as that terminal, you're unplugged effectively, you're useless. You haven't retained anything. So as a human being, you are almost totally dependent on the internet in order to survive. You cannot do anything without the internet. So you are now a terminal to the internet, almost physically, because with it not being there, you are lost. Your brain has not absorbed anything at all. Because you've totally relied on the fact that you can access it. But if for any reason it's not there, you're useless.
Shouldn't we be doing something else with the brain? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think that because of AI, I have doubled or maybe even tripled my intellectual pursuits just because I can.
Yeah.
So, and I'm writing stuff down. So maybe that's what is missing. Other people don't write stuff down.
They
but
don't. That's the thing. Because it's all well and good searching it, which is good. You can search it and go, oh, yeah. Make a note of it.
You make an
Store it
article,
somewhere.
write an article. Yeah, you have to write it down.
Write it down. Copy it or put it into one of these notepad things that they can get online that stores all pertinent information. So that becomes your effective notes. Yeah,
Isn't that what schools are supposed to be doing, though? So going back to this Ministry of Education, is it the Ministry of Education or Department for Education?
For education. Yeah.
I wonder why it's not a ministry. Anyway, going back to that, isn't that what students are meant to be doing? I mean, that's what they do at university.
You have to
college.
write it down.
You take
But
your
they're
laptop
allowed-
into.
Yeah, you write it down on your laptop.
Yeah.
You're making notes.
So they're not, skimming there. So there's got to be some kind of level at which it doesn't have to be a perfidious, a problematic act having electronics in the classroom. It's just that we're obviously not doing it correctly now, and that's the problem.
Yes.
And there must be a right way to do it, and we're not doing it that right way.
No, I think there is an element of when you write with a pen. If you have a pen and you're actually writing, there's a lot more remembering going on because you're having to move the hand in a manner to write words which have meaning, which you then recall. So you're double emphasizing what you're writing and learning. When you're typing it, there's also an element of that, not to the same degree, but there is, because you're typing the words out in a notepad or whatever tool of choice you use. So you're still learning in that manner by typing, not as much as writing, but it's still beneficial. If you're merely reading, you're losing most of it. The reading is not enough. It's just a single layer. It doesn't reinforce what you've read. And that's why, if just a tip for any kids out there, if you want to learn something, read it but write it out as you're reading it. Then that way it sticks.
I think growing up and being in school, I think I was told to write it down 3 times. That's what I believe I remember being told, and I think I did actually try to practice that. Write it down the very first time, leave it alone for a while, come back and write it down a second time, and then try to write it down without referring to any notes the third time, and then you know you've got it.
Then you learn it, yes.
So if
that's very good.
Any students want to try that,
now,
give it a shot.
Because nowadays, what's happened, there's a new phenomenon called metacognitive laziness.
Okay.
And this has basically been identified as part of the OECD digital outlook in terms of IT. And you're right in what you said. They found that the generic stuff they're not retaining because it's just being read. The art of writing, physical writing, has been removed. It's just, oh, well, it's on page 50, you read it. But that's not enough. That's not enough. But, I mean, the Department of Education is one thing, but are they actually responsible with educating children, or are we just creating obedient citizens rather than educated citizens?
Oh, that's another. Well, actually, thank you for bringing that up, because I probably would have forgotten to bring it up. The other reason I really dislike departments for education is because it makes it easier for the oligarchs to control society. And I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to have to do a dynamite conspiracies episode on this, because I have a suspicion that the same dark forces, and I can't prove anything, the same dark forces behind stuff like the Epstein saga, those dark forces are actually hell-bent on creating in future something that it's unbelievable. Okay, so when I say it now, you're going to be like, really? I think they want most people to be serfs, not slaves, but serfs.
But that is exactly what the education system was created for.
To create serfs.
Yeah, because let me explain. At this part of my research for today's topic, have you heard of the Prussian factory model?
No.
Right. There was a guy, he's a critic, his name's John Taylor Gatto, and he said that modern school system was designed in the 19th century to produce obedient workers and not independent thinkers. The goal was punctuality and compliance and not intellectual mastery. And this was actually coming down from the Department of Education, or Department for Education, because they realized that they needed an obedient workforce. Otherwise, if you have a workforce that are free thinkers, they will challenge the established order.
Hang on a minute, sir. How come you got a Rolls Royce and I've got to take the bus in the morning, but I'm the one doing the work and you're the one swanning around with a blooming cigar in your mouth? Just want to ask. Yeah, that wouldn't do, would it? If everybody starts asking like that.
Exactly. And it wasn't actually a secret. I know it's a bit of a conspiracy, but we can sort of weave it into this show as it's relevant. And it was actually a state-sponsored system. And it was
Which country?
It was sold.
No, which country was this? Because
This
it's
is
a
in the
Prussian
UK.
something.
In
Why is
the
it called
UK.
Prussian?
Well, it started out in France, okay? Because after humiliating defeat by Napoleon in 1806, the Prussian monarchy decided they needed a population that wouldn't question orders. So they designed a system with 3 primary goals. Number 1, go on.
Hold on. I
Yeah.
just want to say one thing. When you think about what happened in the late 30s and 40s, early 40s, that wasn't such a great idea. People didn't question orders. That didn't pan out at all, man.
Exactly. And
Yikes.
I know, right? So this was actually created. It's a Prussian model. And the idea was the three primary goals were obedience. They wanted creating soldiers who follow orders without hesitation. Number 2, subservience, creating workers for the burgeoning industrial revolution. They needed that because it was coming along. They needed workers. Nationalism. It had to create a unifying identity through state-controlled history. So this Prussian model was implemented in France, Prussia, and then the British tagged it in the 1870 Act. And so what happened before 1870, the UK education was a mismatch. It had church schools, private tutors, ragged schools for some of the poor. But then the UK government looked at this and thought, oh, this we need to do. And so they introduced it in the 1870 Forster's Education Act. And this was the UK's Prussian moment. So that's when they adopted it in 1870. And it established a framework for schooling all children between the ages of 5 and 12.
Okay. One thing is, it sounded like you were saying Prussia and France. Prussia is Russia, is Germany, not France.
Oh, Prussia is Germany. But this was... sorry. My apologies. It was the defeated by Napoleon that caused them to rethink it, yes. Okay. But we adopted it formally in 1870.
Mm-hmm. So when we adopted it, I understood that they were actually not workers, not factory workers. They didn't need educated factory workers. They needed an educated class to go out to the colonies. It was a civil service they were training. Oh. They were training people who would go off to India and to Nigeria and to Tanzania and all these places and work there on behalf of the empire. That's what they wanted. And that's what they were training. So it wasn't in England. It wasn't for, well, when I say England, I mean Britain, but you know what I mean. Yeah. It wasn't for the factories or the mines. They didn't need an educated population in either of those two places.
Well, I got the information from the British version of that. It was the goal wasn't to create poets or philosophers in the education system.
No.
It was to ensure the British Empire had enough literate clerks, as you said.
There we go. Yeah.
And compliant factory hands to maintain global dominance.
And the high because it's a class structure.
Yeah.
You went if you were from the right class, you went to uni.
Yes.
I can't remember who it was. A famous writer. I don't think it was Byron. Some famous writer from that sort of era. He wrote later. He went in, sat across from his lecturer, that was not what they called there. It was called a master or something. I can't remember exactly what, a professor, whatever they were called. Sat across from him in an easy chair. They had a chat for about 30 minutes or so, and then he got his doctorate.
Oh,
it was just talking to him back and forth, and that's how the extent of the work he had to do. Most of the time, he said he was in town drinking with the boys, having it up with a laugh with the boys, and that uni was a fantastic place. It was, as far as he could remember, but he couldn't remember that much.
Oh my Lord!
So that's how you got your degrees back in those days, until it became more egalitarian, and then started having proper curricula and that sort of thing. It was very, very comme ci, comme ça.
You see, you've got a point though when you said about the Department for Education, and you've got as a valid question that parents could say that they aren't failing their children in the education system, but the Department of Education is failing our children because they are succeeding to keep implementing a 200-year-old plan to keep the children in their place. Because look at it this way, the factory bell. Why do we still use bells in schools when factories haven't used them for decades? That's a conditioning, that we respond to a bell. Why are the desks in a school, most of them still in rows, facing the front, to a single authoritarian figure? That shows hierarchical submission. You listen to someone at the front. You obey. You listen to what's been said. You don't also... a lot of the lessons were less than an hour, just short of an hour, because it has been shown that you need about 2 hours to really get deep into a subject and start to understand it and learn it fully. When classes are fragmented to less than an hour, there isn't enough time to get deep in a subject. And as the Gen Z has shown through the figures, it's worse now because they've got this skimming mentality, and even an hour's way too long for them because they just want to move on to the next subject quicker and easier. That's what they want. So that's not good. So, but what you said about homeschooling, is that an escape? Is that parents realizing that this 200-year plan restricts their children, so they're taking them out of school so that they can be taught independently?
Homeschooling is producing different kinds of students. They're producing more Chinese-type students that are skills. They've got skills. They've got more than just book learning. And it's amazing. They're talking about you don't talk about cooking. You don't talk about it. You cook. It's not aboutism, and it's not indoctrination in a sense. Because this is my biggest beef. This is my biggest beef is that kids today, up to university level, and especially at university level, are being taught what to think.
Yes.
They're not being taught how to think. And homeschooling is a perfect opportunity to teach your children how to think. And there are homeschooling kits and things, and you see that it's being hammered into the parents. You're not teaching what, you're teaching how, so that they can do their own research, form their own ideas. And then when some of the ideas might be a mad idea, let's kill everybody so that there's more for us. And then you start pointing out the contradictions in that. So it's rather than say, no, you can't say that, you go, well, look, let's think about it. And if you were to kill everybody, how would you blah blah blah? And then the child goes, I hadn't thought about that. And then this is what is missing in schools, because the schools and the Department for Education just wants outcomes.
Yes.
We want X number of people to achieve an A, X number, and by the way, they mark people just to fit them into these preset categories. So you might have done well, but not well enough to be at the height of the A, at the top level of A. So they'll push you down to a B, even though you actually got an A.
Yeah.
Because they want a certain number of Bs for that year. It's ridiculous.
That is
or what
wrong.
they call 9s now, or 8s. They don't even do ABC anymore.
No, they don't, do they? Why did they not? See, that was stupid. What was that about? They changed those.
Again, if someone comes along, wants to leave a mark, and there's no good reasons, like what continuity is also part of the tradition of the thing. So we all know what we're doing. But they wanted to change it so that they gave us some kind of silly reason about the expectations of industry not being stuck, so that they'll be able to see the students, they see the results, and not just automatically assume, well, you didn't get an A, you're finished, you're rubbish. Yeah. That's the excuse they gave.
I know we quoted the figures at the beginning about Gen Z and showing signs of cognitive decline. The one thing I didn't get from the figures, was it just American children? Was it? I have a feeling, I haven't confirmed this because I haven't seen those figures directly. I think it was based on American education system, and then that's all that was found. Because I don't want to keep bleating on about the American education system, but I have seen video after video after video of people asking really simple questions of people who have come out of college.
What country are we in?
Yeah, and they can't even answer the base. It makes you ask
What
What
country
have
are
you
we in?
actually learned?
North
What have you
America. Did you graduate from university? Yes. From what? From what department? Geography. Dude, no, no, no. No.
I mean, even basic pictures of. I think it's like they've never seen a map before. I mean, never seen a map. You ask them, where's America on this map? You got North and South America, and they can't even point out the United States.
That's
I mean,
ridiculous.
granted, I get a lot of these videos are created for their sensationalist appeal, so they're going to cherry.
They won't
pick
show you
out.
the ones who got it right. They won't show you the ones who got it right. They'll show you the ones who got it wrong.
Yeah,
but
of
why is anyone getting it wrong?
Yeah, exactly. There shouldn't be anybody getting it wrong. It should be a minor edge case group of people. But there's too many. Am I missing something here? But it's just too many that seem to be lacking in common sense. I have often said it, that common sense is no longer common.
No.
Even though we refer to it as common sense. And common sense should be a foundational element of our education system. It's common. You know, you don't put hand in fire because you'll burn. You know, things like that. And it's basics that we all should experience in life generally. But if you don't, then you should be taught that as a foundational level as small children. And then you build education on top of that, but you need that foundational layer. But it seems to be there's a lot.
What I would love to know,
got that.
what I'd love to see, is somebody do the opposite of those kind of interviews. Not try to find out what they're stupid at, but try to find out what they're good at.
Good at.
Because if you didn't spend your time looking at a map and understanding your place in the world, you must have been doing something. So what was it? Maybe they're very good with pop songs or I don't know. No, but it doesn't matter.
Is that valuable?
Well, but I still want to see it. I still want to know that they did something, that they're able to do
that they've
something.
learned and equipped at some level of expertise. It doesn't matter what that expertise is, but of something. What have you learned? What makes you stand out in a particular area of expertise? It could be learning Klingon, but whether that's useful for you in a job environment is a separate question. But
if you had a job interview and start speaking in Klingon, you've got the job. You've absolutely nailed the job. The Klingons, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, are a fictional race in the Star Trek universe. So you know the films and the TV series, and I think there are a couple of books also, and I think there are even comics.
Yes, loads.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
And one of the alien races were the Klingons. So when we talk about speaking Klingon, some people have actually created a Klingon language, believe it or not, and they actually speak Klingon. I mean, it's astonishing.
It's incredible. What use that is, maybe it's for an educational challenge that they wanted to do it, and they've obviously
linguistics.
succeeded.
Create a functional language where you can communicate. I don't know how well you can, but it's just inventing it would probably.
500 words is enough. You can actually be quite fluent in a language if you just.
Yeah, but you need the grammar as well. So what's the grammar? You see?
Well, that's true.
So you need the grammar. You need the nouns, the verbs, the words. Or can you even come up with a brand new concept that doesn't even exist in human language? That would be astonishing. If you could just think of something wouldn't this be wonderful? And then the Klingons actually have it in their language.
Interesting. That's very good. I mean, there's not a side, we're not saying that the challenge of doing it isn't admirable, because it is, because if it works, it's great, especially if two or more people learn it and they communicate with each other and actually understand something. That's great. The challenge of doing that is like a pet project. How useful
Someone became
that
very
would be.
famous. Sorry to interrupt you. Someone became very famous. One of the actors became very famous. It might even be William Shatner himself, but I'm not sure. One of them became one of these original Star Trek people, became very famous for attending a Star Trek convention in the United States and greeting the fans in Klingon. He or she had actually learned some Klingon. Yes. And
Wow.
just blew everyone's mind
Well,
that
would be
he or
fantastic.
she took the
Lead
time
character,
and trouble.
Talk about, absolutely. Let's go back, because I'm mindful we're not far from the top of the hour, so I want to be aware and going back on this Department of Education. See, is the Department of Education not maximising the human potential of the kids in the society? Are they just creating a dumbed down group of people to be obedient rather than equipping them with knowledge and proper education? I mean, this is a bit conspiratorial. I
don't think anyone working for the Department of Education would say that's what they're doing. I don't believe that a single one of them would. Because they wouldn't have to know. It's the politicians who are directing them who know what they're doing. It's that elite class of... Because nowadays, let's be honest, for the past maybe 2 decades, our politicians have formed themselves into an elite class.
Yeah.
They're no longer us, so to speak. And they do their thing. And it doesn't matter what we think about it, because they've rigged the system to the point where it doesn't matter who you vote for. You're going to get the same outcome no matter who you vote for. So the Department of Education staff are probably working very hard to do what they think. Well, they're working very hard to do what they've been told to do. And they think they're doing the right... But I don't know if they can just sit back a bit and look at it and go, this can't possibly be right. You know, the way it's very difficult to get rid of... It's very easy to throw children onto the slag heap of history. Very easy. Once they're classed as troublemakers, they've had it. And the system just throws them out, just doesn't care. And I'm got myself into trouble constantly for trying to fight and saying, no, we can fix this kid if only if we're just prepared to not be so happy, not be so frictionless in letting the kids slide. That means we have to use some degree of coercion. But they say, no, you can't do that. It's safeguarding. Your safeguarding is throwing this kid away into the gutter. That's not safeguarding.
Do you want me to throw in something which is the 4th Industrial Revolution? Have you heard about this?
I have not heard the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, this is actually from the WEF, the World Economic Forum.
Oh, them.
They're a bit of a bashing shop at the minute when they come up with ideas, but they actually call it Education 4.0. And it's actually the 4th Industrial Revolution as far as they're saying. And obviously they don't have any power, but they have some influence. And they want to redesign what it means to be human in the future economy of the world. And they're actually reskilling. They want to reskill everybody, okay? And their aim is to reach 1 billion people reskilled by 2030. And they want it to be competency-based learning. So they're valuable. And the 4 pillars that they want from this learning is global citizenship skills. So they want to foster social awareness and active roles in the global community. So, and that seems quite admirable. But the critics of this think that it's political indoctrination.
What does it even mean? What does it mean?
Global citizen skills. So in other words, you're socially aware, you're part of a global community, not just a country community. You are part of the planet. And so you should be socially aware of everyone, have skills that are valuable across the planet.
Like what?
Well, programming, digital responsibility, AI skills, all this sort of stuff, but also interpersonal skills, because theirs are sadly lacking in a lot of people. Empathy, negotiation skills, emotional intelligence, these sorts of skills, communication skills generally. Because
you can't argue against that.
No,
given the fact that Trump keeps bombing people he's negotiating with.
Oh.
So his negotiating skills seem to be quite poor. So you can't really argue. every time you sit down to talk to the man, you get bombed. So
Yeah, I know. Well, you can't. It's threats behind a gun, isn't it? Really.
yeah, so yeah, I think we could definitely use with people learning how to negotiate properly,
Well,
without
yeah.
without
Being able
guns.
to understand the other person's point of view, but putting
That'd
your
be great.
view across in a succinct way that you can both understand it and work out a consensus and come to an agreement. But there you go. This global citizenship, very quickly, there seems to be an issue where they want to show this global citizenship so everybody respects everyone else, but there's some people go, no, we'll lose our national identity if we do that. So they want to keep the countries insular almost, and this is what there's a big challenge about being a global citizen in this world as opposed to just being loyal to your own borders.
That would be a
And-
fantastic topic. Is it time for us to dump the idea of nations and
Yeah.
nation states? I mean, frankly, nations are very ephemeral concepts anyway. Because you think about it, the Chinese say that they've been a civilization for, I think they're saying 5,000 years, 4 or 5,000 years. India, several thousand years. But no one ever drew a border around. I mean, the borders constantly shift.
Yeah.
So why do we need borders? I suppose we need borders, but
I think it's to do with resources. That's all it is.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
If there was an abundance of resources, then we wouldn't need borders. So that's
But
where
I
the
think
bottom
people would
line
still
is.
like to be apart. There's still this apartness thing that is instinctive in us. Because
It is if we don't look the same. There's a
Yeah.
little bit of that. We
Because
still
I think
have that.
they studied
But I think if you had
chimpanzees
more
and
but if you had more mixing, then you wouldn't have that issue.
no, I used to think exactly that, and then I learnt about the war in, I believe it's Eritrea. I think it's Eritrea, and I think I'm right. It's definitely the Horn of Africa, and it's definitely not Ethiopia. So I believe it's Eritrea, and it's the Horn of Africa somewhere. It's not Somalia, I think. One of these countries, they speak the same language, they look the same, and they have the same religion, and they still have a civil war.
Really?
And I asked, based on what?
Yeah, exactly. What?
And they said, okay, their society is divided by clan, and the clan comes down or devolves, if you like, or I don't know, it starts off with a historical mother. So you all speak the same language, you're all the same tribe, you're all the same everything, but just different mothers, so to speak, historical mothers. It means that you're from different clans, and that's led to civil war. So I don't think it really matters. People will always find a reason to fight,
Indeed.
to discriminate.
Okay, we're at the top of the hour. Need to sum up. Your question: should we get rid of the Department of Education, and is it serving the students of the country, and in fact in America too?
I would like to answer like this. If you just, I should have done it. I should have said. I should have anticipated your question, because you asked me the same thing. All right? So my answer is go back.
That's Klingon, isn't it?
It's Klingon.
For yes or no?
For no. It's
no.
Klingon for no.
Oh,
Go
okay.
back.
I'm of the opinion same. I don't think we should get rid of it, but just be aware. Encourage the kids themselves to just be more inquisitive. I think that's part of lessons, and also downtime from IT. Actually, put them down. Give yourself playtime.
You've made me make up my mind now, and I'm saying it now. From this Saturday, my phone goes off on Friday night and it won't come back on until Sunday. I'm going to do that.
Interesting. All right. Brilliant. Okay, unfortunately, we've got to the end of the show. If you've loved this episode, please stay tuned for more deep dives into prophecies, mysteries, and the unexplained twists of fate. You've listened to Tony and Tyre, and we are the TNT Talk Show. But unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.